when you get onto a show, and I don't think people realize, it's only what, the second or third year of X Factor, right? It's like
I think it was the second
year. So it's like you kind of know that it could be really big. So you're probably nervous, but it's no guarantee. Like I feel like that you can only gauge how heavy it was in retrospect.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be completely honest. I've always I've always kind of healthily followed my delusions and my dreams. And I think especially when you're young, like that is very strong. And I really was just, when I think about it now, it's actually very innocent and pure. I was so guided by love and love for music, and honestly love for One Direction. And I'm not even joking. I was such a huge fan of theirs, and they actually had posted a video where they were giving tips to audition for X Factor USA. And some part of me just knew that they were going to perform on the show. And I'm not even saying this to try to be funny. I know it sounds like kind of crazy. I really was like, I want to be on the show. I love singing. I love music. And
but
also,
I really want to see them.
And also, why this show? Because I know they're going to perform, and I really want to meet them. And I I really did have such a big crush on Harry Styles, a delusional crush on Harry Styles at that time. And I wanted to I don't know, meet him and I don't know, fall in love with him. At that time, at 15, I really thought that was a real thing that could happen.
Do you have a relationship with any of them or all of them?
I think I wouldn't say a relationship with all of them, but I feel Niall is always been really sweet and a friend, and Harry's always been really friendly. I wouldn't say we're friends, but not yet anyway, but I feel he's really friendly. But I always hesitate to tell that story because that's the thing. Because I don't want them to be is this girl? I was 15. I am 12 years older now, guys.
I went on tour with them and for for 10 days in the UK, and it was one of the most bizarre moments because you grow up knowing about boy bands, but it's different when you see it. And it's not what you think it is. You leave a concert, of course there are lots of fans. It's not that. It's that you drive an hour and a half outside of the venue to find a hotel that is off the map so no fans can find you. And an hour later, there are 100 14-year-olds with no parents in sight. And you're like, how did you find us? This is crazy. The fandom for that kind of thing it's just hard to explain. And my first cut was for a band that was opening for Jonas Brothers.
I also
called the Honor Society, and they were going on tour. Even just seeing those guys perform, the fans were rabid for boy bands.
Rabid, and I wasn't even really I wasn't even exclusive to one.
No, but
I was obsessed with the Jonas Brothers. I thought Nick and I were gonna at that.
It's the age.
Yeah, it's the age.
But the reason why I brought that up is because maybe Fifth Harmony might be the last so far. It's the last great girl group. There hasn't been a girl group that has done that kind of damage. And same thing with 1D. There actually hasn't been a lot.
So
There's
true.
not there. It's now been almost a decade, and it sounds like people haven't tried.
Yeah, and it's actually interesting because when I went to Blackpink's concert.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
I mean, I was when I was younger.
It's all those bands, BTS. It's all the K-pop stuff.
True. When I was younger, I was obsessed with Destiny's Child, but I think after Fifth Harmony, going to see a Blackpink show, I was wow, I 100% I understand. There's something so you're and which one am I? And there's something so.
Do you still do that?
I did when I went to the Blackpink show.
Yeah.
Literally
Who were you?
I think I was Lisa.
Yeah. Does Lisa know that?
No.
Shout out Lisa.
Shout out Lisa.
Is there going to be another girl group? Why is it so hard for girl groups to exist now? And when I think of my childhood, it was primarily girl groups. It was there were so many
Yeah,
good
that's
groups.
so true.
What was it that you guys had that like just is so hard to replicate?
Well, you start first, and then I'll.
I have no idea the answer. Like, I mean, what's really unique about both the
Well,
1D Fifth Harmony era is that it was cast, it was auditioned, and it was like
I think you're right, and I remember. I think there's something so fascinating about this kind of like human dynamics being played out.
yeah.
And I remember like watching the One Direction guys, like especially in the beginning, seeing them kind of banter and seeing the different kind of friendships being formed like within the group, and like what's it like when they interact and what's it like when they interact. And I don't know, I think that there's something really joyful about it. I think that on a deeper level it's like different. You see yourself, it's like you see yourself in different members, and then your friend is like, well, if you're her, then I'm her. And there's something really like kind of like joyful about it. And also I think it speaks honestly to our need for, this is me just like kind of like psychologically like being like, like what is it? I think we all want to belong and belong to a friend group like that. Like we all want to like crack up laughing, and we all want to like hug like 5 of our like closest friends. Like we all want that experience. We all want that experience of like looking to either side and being like, I'm not alone. Like I have like my girls beside me, like we all want that so bad. It's honestly, I think it's part of why like for this album, like I have like the XOXO girls, which are like this, it's the same girls, like it's the same dancers, and they've become such a like, I don't know, like it's like they each have their own style and like their own personalities, like
to bring that
within our dynamic. And it's like almost like an inner child like healing thing for me too, where it's like, I don't know, like it's like I feel that dynamic again, and I don't feel like I'm like alone or solo artisty. It feels like like we're like a girl gang, and like and it's all of us, and you know what I mean? Like I like that feeling.
We were talking the other day about like kids not like if our kids didn't play sports, would we be upset? And some of the thing that I learned out of coming out here in particular is how many people treat music like a team. And when you have a group of women who have to dance together, and it's sort of like the weakest link is really noticeable when everyone's dancing together. So the amount of teamwork it takes to be, to have the XOXO girls is like, it's not like that's easy. You can't just throw it together. You actually have to like rehearse and talk and communicate and look at each other and listen, and
100%.
it's a team.
Yeah. Totally.
Jumping to songwriting stuff, when you're, through Fifth Harmony stuff and into a lot of the solo career, a lot of people are thrusting songs upon you from the outside, but you're a really good songwriter, says your collaborators, which we'll still get to. But the what is the process to go from you cast in something where people are like, these are the songs you're going to sing, to jumping to the solo stuff as a songwriter?
Well, I think honestly, even as a songwriter now, which now I feel like I'm in a totally different space than I was then, as far as like trust and confidence in my own ability, and not even my own ability, but trusting my own ear and my own instincts. Because I feel like something that I have realized as I've gotten older, which I heard on this podcast, it wasn't in the writer is, but it was second best to end the writer is. It was this next best podcast. What was I going to say? And I'm so excited to be here, by the way.
Oh, well.
I really am. Okay, so what?
You can come on anytime
Great.
you want.
It's
going to be a whole season of.
Great. But somebody said, you can't let the world tell you your value. You have to tell the world your value.
Yeah, that's real.
That's real. And I felt like in the beginning, because I hadn't almost like earned creds songwriting wise, like, I hadn't had like a big song, like I hadn't, proven that I could do it. It was almost like people didn't like expect that I could do it even though I was like, I feel like I could be a good songwriter, and I feel like I have great melodies, and I feel like I have great ideas, but I feel like, I think, people are also, they're afraid that things won't work out, and that's why they take the safer bet. And I
Who
find
encouraged you to, if I say like, hey, I'm gonna be, right now I'm gonna join a group or whatever, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go and be in a boy band. People be like, you can't do that, and I'd be like, why not? Can I? But somebody
Right.
along the way is gonna be like, no, you can still do it, and I'd be like, really? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Somebody along the way probably was like, no, you just auditioned for this show. You can't be a writer.
Right.
And somebody said, no, man, you got to hear her songs.
I
Her
think
melodies
honestly,
are really good.
it was while I was in the group that I literally had like full songs that I wrote that were in the beginning to instrumentals of other songs. But then I remember I actually, I worked with a musician and producer who, for the first time, I recorded, I think it was like maybe 2 or 3 songs that I had written by myself. And, I started showing people. I remember like I showed Sean, I remember like one of the girls in my group, I showed, like our like tour manager at the time. Like I started showing different people, and I think that just kind of like built my confidence more and more. And I think that was probably like one of the impetuses behind why I was like, okay, like I'm ready to like, like do my own music. But I think as soon as the first thing I did, like when I left the group, was I wasn't really recording. I started doing sessions. And I think my first session was with Benny Blanco. And I remember I was like so just straight terrified for like 10 months, because suddenly it's like, for me, it was like, it wasn't even singers anymore that were my gods. It was like songwriters. Like I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like I'm in the room with Max Martin right now. Yeah. Like I am scared. You know what I mean? Because all I wanted was for them to like think that I was good. And sometimes that would actually kind of like, it kind of left me with diminished returns, because I wasn't even thinking about if I liked the song I was doing with Pharrell or Max Martin. It was like, but do they think that I'm a good songwriter?
Yeah, that's
Does
really
that make
interesting.
sense?
Sure.
Like it would happen to me all the time, where I literally was like, as long as it was more about me.
You ended up with hits with a few of those people, so I mean,
did, yeah,
it did not work.
Well, I had a lot of moments of like clarity and like sobriety, like validation sobriety with like the more longer term collaborators like Frank Dukes. Like we spent so much time together, and but it was like when I was like in a room with Pharrell for like 4 days, I was just wanted acceptance and validation of like, does he think I'm good? You know what I mean? As opposed to like,
and each of those writers has such a unique skill set in the room, where if you're with Benny for 4 days, you had a really good time, and then in the end you're like, man, that song was great, and I don't even remember which day. Like it's like a whole other process than Max, where you go in and it's like it's really focused on the composition, and it's like it's just a different technique. And Pharrell's gonna be like, just a feel session. Like all of them are so different.
So different.
Did you thrive in one more than the other?
I truly, I honestly think, because I was maybe like 19 at the time, and these guys were just like myths in my mind. And all I wanted to do was like be a great songwriter and prove I was a great songwriter. I honestly think the thing that was the best for me was like with Frank Dukes, like when I just was like able to like be really comfortable in the room. And when I got to a place where he was somebody that I got to a certain point where I wasn't trying to prove anything to him, and I could just like relax and enjoy. Like so much of songwriting, and it's so different now. Like now I honestly feel like I've learned that one, it doesn't matter like how great or how mythologically incredible the person that you work with is. It really is all about, do they get me? And do they understand me? And do I understand them? And is there a fit? And is there chemistry? It really is like, the other stuff is superficial. It's kind of like dating in a way. It's like,
it totally is.
It's literally like you could see a guy that is like, I don't know, all the superficial things. He's like super tall, he's gorgeous, he's handsome, he's funny, he's so successful, blah, blah, blah. And that could kind of, in the beginning of dating, or if you're like really young, could really freak you out. You're like, I got to really impress this guy, blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly you're not even yourself anymore during the date. And then but then you kind of have to shift the paradigm of like, this guy could be all of these things, and he could literally, I don't know, I could like hate the way he kisses, and he could not like my sense of humor, and we might just not fit. And I feel like with music, collaborating is the same way. It's like you could have the most hits and best songs in the world. If you don't get me, if you don't make me feel like psychologically safe in the room, if you don't make me feel free to, I don't know, like if you don't make me the best me, then it doesn't really matter like how acclaimed and amazing you are. And to be fair, I don't think those people, the irony is those people in the beginning of my career, I don't even think I truly gave it a chance because I was so nervous and like, and so like trying to prove myself. But I really think I'm not in that place at all anymore. Now I'm literally, I think for the most part, I'm like, you know, I kind of like, I'm like, let's just see if you get me and if we work well together. And most of all, if you make me feel like psychologically safe, which I feel like is just kind of underrated in talking about creativity.
It's so weird because like from the songwriting side, you're always like, man, if I was with that artist, I would have written that song. It's not real. It doesn't like real. It just wouldn't be the thing. And
it's chemistry.
Because the chemistry is a huge part of it. I also think if you have 4 days or 5 days or whatever with somebody, then that first day you feel comfortable falling flat on your face because you're not.
That's big.
You're not trying to fall in love with this beautiful person.
Huge.
You know.
I mean, in the beginning, my first album, I was like working with like almost like a different person every day. Yeah. Which was crazy. I mean, this last album, I was like literally with the same 2 people every day for like a year and a half. Yeah. So it was literally like,
I mean, there's so many hits that people that you've had now, and people have asked, I'm sure, all the questions about them, but some of them have been, are sort of transcendent and are falling in that sort of evergreen category of songs where I'm sure you just hear them all the time still. What's the first song, or what's the song that you think defines you as a songwriter?
That's such a great question. Oof, as a songwriter, I feel like it would honestly probably have to be, should I go from, is it a lot to be like from each album or just in general?
Go for each album, yeah. Okay,
I feel like my first album, Never Be the Same.
Okay, yeah.
Because I feel like it's weird in the sense that it's like, I feel like it's like pushing melodically, and there's like some choices that are like, which I feel like is just kind of always, I always want to go like, I feel like one trademark I always like to go for where I'm like really proud of a song is like, oh, that was like a new choice. Yeah. Melodically, or whether it's an ad lib or melodically or something in it feels like it's pushing.
Yeah, it pushes your own boundary.
Yeah, pushes my own boundary for sure. So I think Never Be the Same. I think like, even though Havana I think does that sonically, I think lyrically sometimes I'm like, oh, I think I could have maybe done like a little bit better, but I do love that song.
That's the hardest thing for a layman to accept. Yeah. Is that I definitely have one of my bigger songs that I still always point out as something where I'm like, I never heard it as a hit. I never heard it as a hit. And there are definitely songs I have that I am convinced is like compositionally flawless that nobody knows.
God.
Nobody will ever listen to.
Me too.
And it drives me nuts that you're like, no, my best song is this one that has like 30,000 streams, and this one that has 1 billion is like, it's not great, guys. It just, anyway.
I know. It's
okay,
so
true. That's the first album.
It's so true. My second album, I really love the 2 songs that are standing out to me. I really loved, there's a few songs on the second album, but I love Used to This that I did with, I love Used to This that I did with Phineas. I really like that song. I love this song Bad Kind of Butterflies, which is like a 30,000 streamer, like you, which I feel like nobody's heard that song, but I love that song. And then this song, which I think is, I love this song called First Man that I wrote about my dad.
Yeah.
I love that song. I don't think, I will say, I think of all of those 3, I think Bad Kind of Butterflies actually represents me the most as a songwriter because it does have that thing where I'm pushing my own boundaries. And it's just like there are other two songs that I feel like incredibly like well-written songs, but they're almost like not weird enough.
Yeah.
For, you know what I mean? For me. Okay, on the Familia album, I feel like the song La Buena Vida is very me because it's like, again, it's pushing my own boundaries and it's like this like huapango, like Mexican like orchestration, but it's like almost kind of like rappy like flows, which I really loved and I'd never done before. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. Like I love like mixing things together that normally wouldn't go together. And then on my last album, I feel like Chanel No. 5, Boat, and June Gloom.
Do you have a if I picked out any song that you've done in your solo career, can you sing every lyric?
I'm honestly not. I think it would maybe take me a little bit more of like brain power for some of them because I didn't tour. I haven't toured all of them because there was like a COVID
if
thing
I
that
were to
happened.
bring out
You know what I mean?
the songs from your childhood that you sang for your friends, can you
Yes.
sing every lyric?
Yeah.
It's like I think also people have this assumption that we all know all the lyrics of all the songs we've ever released, and that is 100% of the time false.
Yes.
But I think there's this like image that it's like it's so because people when they describe like oh I like Camila, I don't like Camila. It's like what are you talking like you are like judging this human off of like releases of songs that you may or may not like. They represent you as an artist. It's like it's just weird.
Did you mean Camila, me the person, or me the album?
Just I just meant like
me
like
the person.
The person. Like people just don't really understand the human who chooses to write these songs, who then interprets these songs as the artist form of that human. And that all these are different.
Oh my God.
Like different.
Don't get me started.
They're different parts of your personality.
Well, to be totally transparent, I was actually like, I was kind of nervous like to do this today because I've been feeling so like vulnerable and fragile when it comes to just that stuff.
Why?
It's just been like, I don't know. I just feel like
Is it doing all the promo for the album?
I think so. And I think I've just been spending more time on social media than I usually do.
Why?
And
because of the promo?
Yeah, like just like I don't know, like being on TikTok and then you accidentally like sometimes I'll just have low impulse control and like read comments and then I'll see something that just like leaves me just fucked and you know and yeah, it's just been really hard. I'm not gonna lie.
How are you supposed to deal with that?
I have to be better about not looking at things. And
do you have to do the social media or can someone or can people read through the authenticity?
I think it's like, I don't know. And then I think it's like a combination of things. And then I'll have like friends that come up to me and they're like so well-intentioned, but they'll be like, man, I hate the shit that people say about you on the internet. Oh, yeah. And it's just like, it just sometimes feels like I don't know, like I'm just like feeling it lately. And it's just, it's hard. It's really, it's just.
Why do you do it?
Hard. Why do I do what?
Any of this? No.
I think I like, honestly, like when I'm doing like music and creating things, I do it like because I love it. And then I'm just like, to be totally transparent, there's times where I think what you were just talking about, where it's like the person that's like making things and then like the famous part of it. Sometimes I really do ask myself like, how like worth it is this? Because sometimes it does feel like this is just too much. Like it's, you know, like I've definitely.
Can you separate yourself from the artist?
It's really hard. It's hard for me, for sure. It's hard.
Does anybody do that?
You know, I've talked to like friends about it and, you know, and I've been like also talking to friends about it, like recently too. I think people, I think people struggle with it. I really do. Like, I think like artists struggle with it. And I think that it just like comes in waves. And I think it's about taking care of yourself, like, as it happens. But anyway, I hope that wasn't like whatever, like vulnerability hangover in like fucking 5 minutes.
No, I think it's really important because I think in reality, like all of us are, sometimes it's through the commercial success of stuff. Sometimes it's through comments. One of the things about being a songwriter instead of the artist is I wrote a song a couple years ago where the video really got sort of canceled.
Really?
And no one looked at who the songwriter was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the vulnerability it is to be the artist versus the songwriter can be vast. It's very different. But as a songwriter, you're constantly looking at like, why aren't these songs doing better or whatever it is? And it's like, maybe I'm not good enough or whatever it is. And you still read the comments and internalize, like, man, people don't like this song. Like, but I really liked it. And it's maybe I don't know how to write a song anymore. It's like there are softer versions of it. That's totally different than, the like people. I mean, nobody's looking at the songwriter and judging me by the way I look, for the most part.
Totally. Or like
or just sound or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, and that even sometimes feel like a softer version of what you get. Sometimes it's literally like I don't know, like, and not to even like whatever, like go to like deep into it, but like I don't know, your character, who you are.
Yeah.
Like, which like can feel existential and like fucking like, just like, but just deep. It can feel like fucking deep.
One of the most impressive things that you've done is like you go all the way there on your projects. Like you don't there are other people who've gone solo from groups who didn't go all the way there, like who didn't take that risk. And that risk is why there's also like so much love.
Yeah.
It's because like,
Yeah, and I try to like, even like me saying it is like, all I can really do is just like be human. Do you know what I mean? Like even like, I don't know, like just like be like as courageously human as possible, like in my, the good stuff. And then also I feel like, like the harder stuff too. It's like, literally all I can do.
You did not have to record this last album is not something you had to do.
No.
Like this was a choice from
Absolutely
the outset
not.
that like anybody who listened to it was like, fuck yeah, that woman just took like a risk and like you did not have to do that. You're not some of your peers do also take really good risks, but most of them are not as brave to go and be like, that's like, this is me sonically, which then the visuals and all the things that go along with it to reflect that, like, you made that bet because you're taking that risk. So then like
totally.
Along with that bravery comes all this vulnerability of like a lot of people are going to critique this bravery because they don't get it. Fuck them. And the ones that do are like, Eve just went deeper with you. And they're like, Fifth Harmony.
Ooh, complex dreams, sisterhood.
Do you guys on a text chain? Do you guys text a lot or no?
Okay, maybe not like day-to-day sisterhood.
Yeah.
More like,
no, but like you guys have gone
more
through
like,
the shit.
Like sisterhood in the sense of like the shared experience of being like young women like together, figuring it out together, and like like just like the bonding and the good times, and then also like the the hardships and the